Here's how much your salary, as well as that of all of these guys, would have been taxed if we went back in time to 1946, a period of high taxation and the start of the golden age of capitalism. Let's start by clarifying how the tax system works. You had a standard rate of 45%. This didn't apply for the first £110, equivalent to 4,100 today, that you earned if you were single, and £180, equivalent to 6,700 today, if you were married. Above this allowance, a 1/8 discount was subtracted from earned income up to £1,200, equivalent to 43 grand today. Complicated, I know, but if you're still with me, I'll apply this to some example income brackets to make it easier to visualize. So let's say you earn today's average UK wage, which is about 35 grand. You'd take home about 23,000. Not a princely sum granted, but when you consider the average house price at the time was 50 grand, about double the take-home pay, versus literally 10 times today, it starts to sound not so bad. There were additional taxes levied on higher earners though. This worked through a surtax. Above a certain wage threshold, an additional percentage would be applied to the standard rate. This additional rate started at £2,000, equivalent to 72,000, and increased as you progress through tax brackets. For example, let's say you're a backbench MP like Nigel Farage, and let's live in the land of the fairies and assume he only gets paid for the job he's been elected to do. Your salary of 94 grand would fall into the 12.5% surtax bracket, meaning in total you're being taxed at 57.5%. That means that a backbench MP's take-home pay would be 45 grand. Now how about someone like Wes Streeting? And I'll consider, only for the sake of argument, that private healthcare donors aren't also stuffing your pockets. Crazy to imagine, I know. On his ministerial wage of £170,000, he'd be taxed at 72.5%, which leaves him 53 grand to take home. Moving up, let's say you're on the telly. The lovely Louis Theroux is on £200,000. In 1946, he'd be taxed at 77.5%, meaning he's taking home 52,000. Now how about the BBC political editor, Chris Mason, on about £270,000, presumably deserved for doing that weird thing where he puts his thumb under his chin when he wants to look interrogative. He'd be taxed at 82.5%, leaving him about 55 grand to take home. How about Laura Koonsberg, aka Gossip Girl, currently on £330,000? She'd be hit with an 87.5% tax rate, taking her take-home pay down to 49 grand, actually below Theroux. Moving on, Question Time host Fiona Bruce on 410 grand. Her rate would be 92.5%, meaning she'd take home only 29 grand. Are you starting to see how it didn't pay to be rich back then? Now how about footballers? Somehow, Kobbie Mainoo only earns about $1 million a year. It's loads, I know, but compared to 13 million for Mount? Under the top rate of tax, which applied to all earners over £20,000, equivalent to 722,000 today, a whopping 97.5%, he'd be taking home 35 grand, less than Farage. You better get that new contract signed, Kobbie, huh? As you can see, you would literally be getting worse off if you earned between 269,000 and about 2.5 million. But honestly, who needs to be on wages like that? We're talking about the top 1% of earners here. Would these people not rather have a better standard of schooling and lower house prices for their children? Better healthcare provision for loved ones who get sick? Better transport networks and fewer potholes? More neighborhood police officers on the beat? Even a larger domestic military force if you're that way inclined? Are the Porsches and Rolexes really worth the health of the nation? Attlee didn't think they were, so why do we?